Hey guys, so I'm finally back with an update on the giant panda enclosure. I know I haven't posted in forever and I wanted to make sure that this video is a little bit quicker than what I usually do. I feel like those other formats are honestly really boring to sit through and watch, so I'm gonna try to speed things up a little bit. I'm also gonna be talking through the video and trying to show like my thought processes and narrate what I'm doing to show like what I'm doing and why I'm doing that. Also, if you haven't subscribed, I really hate to do this, but please do so. It really helps me out, and we are honestly so close to getting 100 subscribers. I think right now it's like 78, something like that. That's honestly so many freaking people. Also, I currently stream more often than I post because I'm not really good at editing, if you can't tell. So if you're wondering if I'm honestly still alive, check the live tab or turn on channel notifications so that you can join me next time I'm live. So I started off by just completely destroying the previous enclosure. I felt like that enclosure, it just wasn't a good fit for a giant panda. I also flattened out everything and deleted some paths that were there. I wanted to make the newer enclosure feel more, I guess, alive and moving. Meanwhile, the older one felt too flat, boring, and industrial for my liking. In-game plants that need a lot of texture, like bamboo, I love that they're there, but seeing the geometry and the mesh of the plants, it just throws off like the natural bamboo vibe for me, I guess. I love making bamboo plants with the construction pieces a lot better because they give the area just a whole bunch more depth. Although they do create more lag, I feel like personally for me that is worth it. Here in the video, I'm making a bunch of bamboo sticks and giving them like curves, and I think I'm adding bearberry bushes, which you'll see later, in order to make them add more life to the scene. The next thing I needed to work on was pathing. I've been trying to mesh together the sort of industrial gray main path with more naturalistic paths, but that requires a lot of decals and time. For this path, I also decided to go with some cobbles to add more character than the paths in the Australia section. I also placed bamboo around the paths in order to create sort of like a quiet and naturalistic vibe. I completely forgot to record when I blended the path out into the main path, but I honestly just placed a bunch of the moss decals, colored like dirt until it felt right. My next big thing was trying to work on like the little platform for the guests to kind of view the pandas. This platform, it took several tries to get the right texture and feel that I wanted, but I feel like in the end it was worth it. I went with sort of like a muddy brown color in order to match the feel of like the cobble path, and I added beams of wood to kind of sell that idea and add texture. I built the path out of those little red plastic squares that you see because I really like how the meshes don't collide with each other. So I definitely recommend doing that if you're doing something like this. I did this off camera for like the platform. I made like a little path ring around the edge of the platform in order to kind of, I guess, give the idea that I'm trying to keep people in that area. I know the guests don't necessarily go off the pathing, but I feel like adding these details just makes the enclosure feel a little bit more alive. I decided to go with a rock wall on like the borders of the enclosure in order to provide like a more mountainous feel, as well as kind of hide the really tall fence that would keep the pandas in, and I decided to continue on with the curved metal top. Most of the time that I spent on this enclosure was designing it and placing like the fences around it. After I had finally finished the fencing, at least around this portion, I decided to work on a little sunshade for the guests. I somewhat liked the design, and I was able to make later plants at the base to kind of make the shade feel more included into the area. Next, I moved on to designing the backstage area. Originally, I was going to make it out of conservation slats and one-way glass like I usually do. Honestly, this design was not at all what I was going for. It felt too circular. Instead, I kind of made like a chain link fence type enclosure and secured it with metal rods. In the backstage area, I also added a thick climbing frame for the pandas, although I feel like it's kind of small for what they need. I honestly don't have any ideas for where to put more climbing frames, so if y'all have any ideas, please feel free to let me know. I'd really appreciate it. Earlier, I said that fencing took up most of my time. Well, here's more. This path fencing that I decided to do in order to prevent guests from wandering too far, I really like the look of it because it's giving kind of like countryside. I also made sure to light up everything like in the end as well, but I'm keeping lights out of the animal enclosures to make it feel more natural. I also ended up surrounding this path in yellow saltwort bushes because it kind of made it pop. One of the final things that I worked on was planting everything and making sure that everything looked very, I guess, neat and clean. I'm also currently working on some animal information boards, and I'm going to definitely try to make a quick video showcasing those when I'm finished, if I'm ever finished. In the end, I'm honestly really proud of how this enclosure, I guess, turned out. I think it's one of the most detailed ones that I've done yet, and it roughly took about 14 hours to build. My usual time is around like 8 to 10, so yeah, it took a long time. I really hope you enjoyed this video. Again, I'm so sorry that I haven't posted in a while, but I've been honestly just so freaking busy with classes lately, and exams are coming up, and I'm a slow and kind of bad editor if you can't tell by what I've been doing previously. Please consider subscribing. It helps out so much to see people watching and interacting with my content. I know that I'm not the best at this YouTube thing, but I'm trying. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope you've enjoyed. See you soon.